Those holes are relatively large. And a big hole, we all know what a big hole needs, a big washer. At this point, we are T-minus 2 months for S04, and I'm feeling good enough about the build that I can maybe work on something that isn't critical. Looking ahead at the schedule for S04, I don't think there's going to be any night stages. The days are nice and long, and there'd be no reason to be racing super late in midsummer. We're practically at the solstice. So I don't really need the lights, but I would like to have them available just in case. And let's assemble those and maybe get them mountable. Okay, so I've come back from the mechanic. The test drive was successful. The lighter springs in the back make it much more pleasant to drive on the road. I no longer feel like I'm all over. The alignment is pretty decent, maybe not 100%. And I need to get the alignment done more exactly because right now, straight is about like this. So almost 90 degrees off. I have to figure out if maybe the rack wasn't centered when they did this, and but in either case, let's see how much power steering fluid is left. Yeah, so you see, I made it there, they topped it off for me, and then I made it back, and it's only like 10 or 15 miles, so that's probably not a good sign that it's empty. On the plus side, that seems to be the only fluid I'm down on, so I'll take that. But that probably means I'm going to have to swap out the rack and the hose, because swapping out just the words, Jason, words. Swapping out just the gasket was insufficient. So great. Of course, while I'm waiting for the car to get aligned, I can work on various and sundry things that will speed things up upon return, such as pulling out the brackets for the rally lights, which have been sitting unused in a corner of the garage for several months now. At some point, I am going to swap out. These are the so-called driving pattern, which mostly throws the light down the road, a little bit of near field, but I have 4 of these, which means I have 8 total lenses, and I think I'm going to angle 2 of them out and put the outermost lenses in a wide pattern. I actually have a couple of replacement lenses. You can buy them in driving or far throw or wide, and since I didn't feel like I needed that much wide, I'm just going to mix and match a little bit. So let's get these ready to go on the hood. Initially, I was putting thread locker in everything, and then I kind of realized after about 4 bolts in, one, this is stupid because I'm going to need to make some adjustments, but 2, I did realize that these cushiony bumpers on the bottom are the one thing that is not actually going to allow for adjustment, so I put some thread locker on those. I also realized about halfway through this first one, which I guess by the angle I've given them is the driver's side one. I suppose you could cross them, it would be no big deal, but don't cross the streams. I have no idea where I was going with this. Actually, it might make more sense to make this the right-hand one, because I feel like the mount here is going to block a little bit of this lens, so maybe I should do that the other way and put the top one angled out. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, so we'll do that. And this time I'm going to pay more attention to the beeps that the camera makes, because I managed to only capture about half of that. If I am trying to do if I know something is going to be boring and not make for good video, I usually do the time warp in the camera as opposed to in post. And it's easy to screw that up because it doesn't like to do that if it's too off kilter. So let's adjust this a little bit will actually sit somewhat sloped on the hood like this, so it'll require a little bit. There's quick release fasteners here, so I'm basically going to drill a post through the hood, and then this can clamp down and lock it in. And wash, rinse, repeat. And maybe I'll adjust this so that it goes the other way. And this would have been awkward to discover if it was much closer to an event. I'm glad I'm doing this with some time. I have now two, I guess, left brackets. They're identical, unfortunately, and I need a right bracket. The other side, I kind of rejiggered. They're looking good and ready to go. I just need to actually mount them, properly aim them. And then, but this is, I'm gonna have to call them and say, hey, I could use another, I guess, right bracket. All right, well, that's the end of this project for the moment. So one of the things I can do while waiting for parts to come in is take care of some of the older parts that have been sitting around, filed under less important, and such as these required marker lights, and I'm assuming that this helps direct air over the radiator, which failing on heat is important, so I decided to keep that. And I guess it's kind of convenient that I needed the screwdriver for this, because I had completely forgotten this entire time that I live in Pennsylvania. I don't need a front license plate, and by extension, a front license plate holder. And I decided that there was no way I was going to record me putting a little squirt of extra sealant at the top of the windshield where it turned out there were some leaks. And especially I was going to not do the part where I kind of cleaned out the nozzle. But then it turned out that I was able to clean out the nozzle as one gigantic cast of the inside of the nozzle, and I thought that was so neat and unusual, and I expected complete to threads, which I can't imagine you can actually see because it's not going to focus that close. But you can actually see the threads in this cast. It's so perfect, I felt the need to remark on it. Maybe I should share that to the Boring Men's Club. One of the rules is that we are required to have one toe point painted yellow, orange, or red at both the front and the back of the car. But the rigid ones for the rear of the car and the soft ones for the front of the car. I don't know that I necessarily had a good reason for doing that. And it took me a long time to figure out where I wanted to put these, but I think that probably my best bet is simply to add them to the existing factory toe points, and because we know those are strong enough to tow. I haven't actually test fitted these yet, so I have no idea if this is going to work, but it seems to. One piece of interesting news is that even though the windshield fluid pumper seems to pump, I have yet to actually see any washer fluid come out of the nozzles here, so I'm going to take a look. There's a... when I push the button, I can see the hose kind of twitch, so that tells me that there's getting some pressure in there, but there must be a blockage somewhere along the way. So now I'm going to kind of disconnect the connector pieces that I have to make sure that they're actually allowing fluid through. Although I also see here that there is a connector that I'm not using, and I hope it's not too tight. That would be kind of a sad and pathetic thing to discover, but this is a factory connector, so it shouldn't be too tight. Try to do this cautiously enough to not do anything bad to the hose. It's on there loose enough to move a little bit, so I can't imagine that was the cause. Now at this point, I no longer recall whether the windshield washer tank came with a manual or not. I'm about 85% certain that it did not come with a manual, and I'm 100% certain that I did not RTFM. And when I pulled apart the first pit fitting, because I kind of pressed the button and felt the hose that ran forward to see if there was any pressure, and there's not. So I decided to investigate the first fitting, and on the end of the first fitting is a small metallic bit I'm strongly suspecting is a one-way valve so that the water or fluid doesn't just come back into the tank and you have to reflush the line every time. And it was, I suspect, pointing the wrong way, so hopefully this will go a little bit better when I put this the other way. And on a 1 to 10 scale of how badly did you screw this up, when I went to go look on the internet to see if I had a instructions available on the internet, I discovered that when I took this out in the sunlight, I was able to see that there were arrows molded onto the thing. So yeah, I think I just fixed it. Well, I've definitely had a lot of parts of this build that did not go as planned, and typically they have been my fault, but I would like to classify the brackets as one that was very definitely not my fault, so I will take that as not quite as bad a loss as some of the others. And it's not even a big deal. I don't think we're going to need the long-range rally lights for SOFR anyway, and we have 2 months in which to get a replacement, so there's plenty of other things to work on the car, and hopefully I can get it logbooked before then. And hopefully maybe we'll even get the brackets before I edit the next episode, and that'll be a very illuminating episode. Don't miss it. #dad jokes.